What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Out of the Basement. I'm Nate, joined with Justin.
What's up, guys?
And today we are going to be giving our spoiler-filled thoughts on the latest and potentially greatest episode of The Mandalorian yet. This is Season 2, Episode 5, The Jedi. And boy, oh boy, we thought last week's episode was lore-heavy. We've got even more lore to discuss this episode.
Lore.
We love lore. And we got to see the live-action appearance of Ahsoka Tano.
Yep. I love that it got right into it.
Yep.
No cheap tease at the end. It just got right into it.
Yep.
I like that.
It was just... You hear the iconic, her lightsaber ignition noise. You see the white sabers. I loved that because... That's fully what I was expecting going into this episode was, oh, she's going to be at the very end. Maybe she'll show up for a scene or two and say, hey, Mando, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But nope, they jumped right into it. They wasted no time. And I also liked that... there was no, like, cornball Rogue One style R2-D2 and C-3PO just... roll into the shot and I am C-3PO. She wasn't like, I am Ahsoka Tano. Once I was the Jedi Padawan of Anakin Skywalker. Which
is done very tastefully.
Yeah.
Of course.
Which
Dave Filoni directing.
And wrote the episode as well. And so the episode starts out with Ahsoka fighting. She's kind of performing like a one-man war on this little...
These goons, these mercenaries.
Yeah.
There's like the village, this gated village.
Yep. And Michael Biehn makes his appearance as
well.
Kyle
Reese himself.
Kyle Reese. I was sitting there watching it and I was like, that guy looks an awful lot like Michael Biehn. And then I forgot, a few months back, it kind of leaked that Michael Biehn was in The Mandalorian. Right. So then when it actually turned out to be him, I was like, awesome. I always love when Michael Biehn shows up in something.
Absolutely.
But... Ahsoka, she is trying to free some prisoners. Basically, the magistrate is holding an entire town captive, and she's torturing these villagers, and Ahsoka is going to set them free.
Well, and she's looking for information.
Right.
The main thing.
She's looking for information for the magistrate's master. Magistrate's master. Who we'll talk about a little bit later, but I hate to say it, but your basement boys were right.
Dave Filoni watches our videos.
Yep.
Confirmed.
It's absolutely confirmed. Dave Filoni, thanks for watching, buddy. Just like Hasbro, they watch all of our videos, so...
Yep.
So we get some really cool lightsaber action right off the bat with
the first
Ahsoka.
time we've ever seen white lightsabers in live action. Yep. They looked awesome. They sounded just like they do in Rebels as well. Yeah. Ahsoka was awesome. Live action Ahsoka was just pretty amazing.
Rosario Dawson looks exactly like Ahsoka and honestly sounds very similar to Ashley Eccleston. I thought the voice was pretty good as well.
I think she definitely tried her best to sound like a more mature, significantly older Ahsoka. And she also had some, wrinkles on the tendrils. And then on my second viewing of the episode, I noticed a lot of, the facial expressions. Yeah. Which, that was probably, difficult to do, kind of study the facial expressions of a CG character. Yeah. And try to, mimic that, but not, too on the nose either.
The facial expressions stuck out to me. Of course, the two white lightsabers. I saw some people saying they looked the same length. But definitely she still has the one shorter one. But in Rebels and in The Mandalorian, the second lightsaber is a little bit longer. It's not quite as short as the blue and green Shoto saber.
Which makes sense because they are different hilts from the Clone Wars anyway, and different kyber crystals.
Right. So, yeah. But they're definitely still two different lengths. And also, we could just talk about Hairgate, I suppose. A lot of fans out there upset that Ahsoka's hair, whatever it's called, I know it has a real name, it's like Laku or something like that. It's a lot shorter than what it was in Rebels. but I think mainly it's simply because wearing a giant real prosthetic like that would probably be really hard to act in.
And it's just so easily explainable. It could be genetics. It could be to different lines of Togrutas just get shorter over time. Like, why does it matter? I mean, she's not related to Shakti, so maybe it's genetic or something. And
you never see Shakti doing any sort of crazy movements back in the prequels, so it's most likely because it's extremely heavy and was very awkward because there's a lot of lightsaber fight scenes, especially the beginning scene. She's really moving around a lot. I don't think that's a big deal. I think it's just like this small sect of Star Wars fans that just want to complain about anything, no matter what it is, even if it's literally the best modern Star Wars we've seen, especially live action.
Which this episode is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's on the same level as, like, Clone Wars Season 7. Like, that's the last time I kind of, like, felt like this.
Mm-hmm.
So, such a non-issue.
Yeah. It's just like, we need something to complain about. This episode was so good. Ahsoka's hair length. That's what we're running with.
Yep.
We're mad about that for reasons.
Yep.
But
yeah, with Dave Filoni directing, there was tons of great little more subtle things, such as the Morai owl creature, basically the embodiment of the daughter from the Mortis arc of the Clone Wars. You hear it like howling, like that classic sound throughout the episode. But there is one shot where you can see it like on the branch, and it kind of turns its head, and you can see the face, and I was like, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's exactly what we talked about last week. Like, Dave Filoni, he's a very intelligent man. He knows a lot about Star Wars. And I just love the reincorporation. It rewards you for watching Clone Wars. It rewards you for watching Rebels. And it just makes everything feel so connected, but in a good way, not in like a shoehorned, forced kind of style.
Not like Dr. Cornelius Evazan and Ponda Babu just randomly appearing out of nowhere.
Yeah, and spouting the same exact dialogue.
Even though that village gets blown up by the Death Star, like 5 minutes later.
Shut up.
But yeah, that was just a great piece that I noticed, is just the Morai creature. Just such a great touch, because I feel like after the embodiment, like, she kind of like transferred her Force essence into Ahsoka in that arc, so like the Morai is always kind of like around when it comes to her, so I thought that was honestly a great touch. But then we get like the title card, and then we see Mando. He's flying to that planet. He comes in. I almost got like a Matrix vibe, like green color grading, which I really enjoyed about that planet. And there's like those slow moving, like huge creatures. And I like the scene where Mando shows up and they're asking them if he's in the guild, because that's like, it like makes it official. Like, okay, we can let this guy in. And then another cool scene is someone wants to speak, or the magistrate wants to speak with Mando, and she offers him the Beskar spear to go and kill the Jedi that is plaguing her.
Which, how convenient for Mando. He just goes along with it, which, great idea.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, he was set out to find Ahsoka, and then she's like, I need you to kill a Jedi. And he's just like, yeah, I'll do it. Just tell me where she is.
Yeah. He like plays off like, I don't know, that's a hard task.
Yeah.
My price is high.
And I think for the sake of not having last week's episode be 40 minutes long, I cut out our discussion about Mando's Beskar armor and why other Mandos, are susceptible to blasters and lightsabers. And I'm thinking maybe it has to do something with being his armor and this spear being pure Beskar. Because we see shortly afterwards Ahsoka versus Mando. And
Yes.
Mando blocks her lightsabers with his gauntlets.
Which was an amazing scene when he like has them both up, and it's just...
And I just love how they were both so evenly matched. You know, he tries to hit her with the flamethrower, but it catches her cloak, so she flips it off. Then he shoots the wire around her. She just force jumps over the tree, and he disconnects. She breaks free of it. I loved that they were like so toe-to-toe with each other. And just jumping back to the spear, of course, now that we know that his armor, pure Beskar, can block lightsabers, of course, the spear is most likely going to be how he is going to presumably fight Moff Gideon with the Darksaber, which I can't wait for that. Mm-hmm. But are they gonna sell us another Mando that comes with the spear now?
Probably
another deluxe Mando.
Yeah. For the record, I think Ahsoka would have bested Din.
Oh, eventually,
without a doubt. To me, that was almost a callback to Rebels when Kanan was trying to teach Sabine how to use the Darksaber, and
I actually just watched that episode.
She was using like the tricks, and Kanan eventually was like, "There's a reason why Jedi won the war." Like I said, I thought that was like kind of a tiny little callback, but then the lore starts.
Yes,
and we learn that the child, his real name is Grogu, and he was a youngling at the Jedi Temple, trained by many masters over the years.
Yes,
at the Jedi Temple at Coruscant.
And you know what that means? No more calling him Baby Yoda. No more even calling him the child. He has a name now. It's Grogu. We're going to call him Grogu from here on out.
I mean, I think the child is still acceptable, but I dislike Baby Yoda.
Baby Yoda is officially dead. We're going to bury that name.
Dislike it.
But
the name grows on me. I just feel like it's a fitting Star Wars name. Because there's always been like those silly Star Wars names like that.
I've seen people complaining about the name, and I'm like, is this your first time watching Star Wars?
Yeah.
Like, there's plenty of characters. Dooku. What kind of name is that? Savage Opress.
General Grievous.
Yeah, it's like there's all these wacky names all throughout Star Wars. This isn't anything new, and I love that in a way he can communicate with Ahsoka. It added a lot to Grogu as a character, knowing that actually, even though he can't speak, he's like an intelligent, sentient being. You know, he did what he had to survive.
Yeah.
Because he was in the Jedi Temple, presumably during Order 66.
So, and Ahsoka does mention that someone grabbed him and saved him. So, like, that's another mystery. I've heard people speculate that it's perhaps Mace Windu, or that he survived the fall and the electricity, or perhaps a clone, like a good clone, such as like Wolf or Gregor, who in Rebels we learned that they removed their chips.
Yeah.
The Emperor himself.
Yeah, because she mentions his memory gets dark, which could just mean, you know, it's something to do with him, because they also mention like he masks his powers so that people don't know he's force sensitive, and that's also why he can't use a lot of his abilities, is because he's let them fade away.
I was getting some Cal Kestis vibes when she was talking about that.
Exactly.
I started thinking of Jedi Fallen Order, when you kind of have to relearn. It was like a clever way just in the game too to like unlock mechanics, but it was like, you know, Cal had to relearn because he's cut himself off from the Force for so long. So there's another like just subtle little connection that I have to believe was 100% intentional.
Yeah.
With like the new like good canon Star Wars, such as Jedi Fallen Order and other things, but it was so great. Oh, and Ahsoka did say when she was talking about the Force, what was the quote? She was like, "To wield it, it takes much discipline and training." Or I have it written down. To wield it takes a great deal of training and discipline. I gotta believe that was a knock at the sequel trilogy.
Yeah.
That has been a complaint for so long, that Rey, even though I like her in The Force Awakens, she does pick up the Force. She doesn't even know she has it, and then all of a sudden she can, you know, Jedi mind trick, best Kylo, use Force lightning in Episode 9, which I think is an even bigger
Force heal.
So I gotta, you know, believe that was a knock. And then they tried testing Grogu. And there, I noticed this as well, very subtle, but the Force sound effect from Rebels, the ringing, when Ahsoka was using it and trying to get Grogu to fling the rock to him, and then, you know, Din uses the knob, and it ends up working.
Yep, and then Ahsoka, of course, is like, I can't train him. He's too attached to you. I've seen what attachment can do to the best of us. Yep. And I was like, oh, we're right there.
Clearly talking about Anakin.
Right. And that is just, it's so satisfying to hear that. to like just have that out in the live action world.
Well, it's because this is what we wanted in the sequel trilogy, and I know we like talked about this last week as well, but it's like it's all Star Wars, so there's like so much connections with like the original trilogy, the prequels, like I mean even the sequels with like the vial of like the tube with the person inside, like they're doing such a great job at like connecting everything because it's all Star Wars, and Disney is notorious for all of their merchandise. Their brand is all First Order Stormtrooper. Like the Mandalorian is doing such a great job at just encompassing all of Star Wars. And then there's something I thought you would like. Instantly thought of you, HK-87, which you gotta think is a variant of HK-47.
Of course.
KOTOR.
Which, as soon as, you know, they mentioned the HK droids, I was like,
So they're kind of like reintroducing a lot of things from Legends into canon. I'm like, I really like this.
Yeah.
I really like this.
So Ahsoka needs help to attack the Magistrate.
Yeah, she has a name. I don't know the actual name, though.
It was like Morgan something.
Yeah.
It's Morgan something.
Morgan Elizabeth.
Yeah. It literally was something like that. It was
actually like a pretty normal name.
And so...
Which was like Bruce Lee's
granddaughter. Yep.
Pretty cool.
And Din, of course, offers, yeah, I'll help you do this, but you're going to have to train Grogu.
Mm-hmm.
So...
Because like Ahsoka doesn't mention that she's not a Jedi at all, which I kind of like.
Right.
Because we all know she's not a Jedi, and she's kind of like treating Din like she kind of like laughs off some stuff that he says. The one appropriate, I'll give it a pass. Din says laser swords.
Yep.
This one actually makes sense because he's a Mando in a cult that knows absolutely nothing about the Jedi. Mm-hmm. When he's like, not even your laser swords can deflect that kind of firepower. And she, like, Ahsoka kind of smirks and, like, laughs it off. Because she's like, I'm not even going to bother explaining everything to this Mando. Because Luke says laser swords. He's a Jedi. He knows it's a lightsaber. I believe that was Last Jedi. Mm-hmm. Kanan says laser swords in Rebels. I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
It's like, stop saying laser swords.
Yeah.
But they team up. So Ahsoka goes back to the village. I love when she throws the Beskar shoulder plate down and it does like the little Mando like noise, and she's like, your bounty hunter has failed.
Yeah. But she did that after she kind of like infiltrates the border. Yeah. The top of the wall, which was just great. There's that choreography, lightsaber action.
There's that one shot, she cuts the bell in half and then she's just standing there, lightsabers igniting. The wind is blowing her costume, which by the way, I'll say it, I'm ready for a Mandalorian Ahsoka figure with that slightly updated costume. I loved the way it was like blowing in the wind. It was like just a quick shot, but it looked so awesome. And like you were saying, I think she nails Ahsoka's facial expressions. Yeah. Like
she's using the reverse grip. I'm like, this is just so accurate to Ahsoka.
Yeah, I'm so happy that Dave Filoni is involved with Ahsoka, because obviously that's kind of like, in a way, his baby is Ahsoka. And I just couldn't imagine what would happen if he was not involved and someone else tried to incorporate Ahsoka.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Ahsoka.
It was just awesome to see. It's such a good translation of the character into live action. And I really am having such a hard time grasping the criticisms for Ahsoka.
I think it's overwhelmingly positive from what I've seen, but there is always going to be that loud minority.
Of course. Of course.
But I think, in general, people have loved this episode.
100%. I think this is, obviously, like we've talked about pretty much every episode, this is what we wanted the sequel trilogy to be. A continuation that makes sense. It introduces new characters. It brings back fan favorite characters in a non-intrusive way. Like, you don't need to over-rely on the old cast. Yeah. You don't need to shove new characters down our throats that are poorly developed. Right. That you're just, well, you're supposed to like them because they're the main character. Yeah. Which, granted, I do like Rey in The Force Awakens. And I do think Kylo Ren is easily the best sequel trilogy character. But they both could have 100% used a lot more development for how we're just supposed to accept them as the new hero and villain / hero and hero.
Yeah. But Ahsoka's fighting, lightsaber action, very cool. Then you got Mando. He comes down, saves the prisoners because they were getting like electrocuted and basically just getting tortured.
Yeah.
I was like, ooh, a little dark.
Yeah.
But the military leader and the HK droids and then the rest of the goons are kind of like trying to fight the Mandalorian and Ahsoka.
Yeah, which we do see a Loth cat.
Yes.
Which I thought was cool.
Yep.
Michael.
Little Ezra foreshadowing.
We'll talk about it.
Little Ezra foreshadow.
So, Michael Biehn versus Mando while the Magistrate is fighting Ahsoka.
I like his shotgun blaster.
Yeah.
That has
so
like
awesome.
a scatter shot.
And I just loved the Wild West angles. You know, Mando's...
Even though he's wearing Beskar.
Right. It's like, Michael Bihn's going to get it.
All right.
For a minute, though, I was like, oh, he's going to become a good guy. Then we're going to get more Michael Biehn.
Yeah. Nope.
Of course, he loses that duel when the fight scene between the Magistrate and Ahsoka. It's a very slow, very deliberate fight scene. Another thing I've been seeing criticism of, which, yes, obviously Ahsoka could have easily killed the Magistrate, no problem. But she's trying to obtain information from her.
Yeah, I had absolutely no problem with that fight scene because it's obvious. Like, and it's Bruce Lee's granddaughter. Like, why not have her put up a fight? Like, she obviously knows like some choreography and stuff like that, fighting moves. But yeah, I mean, Ahsoka didn't want to just outright just murder her.
Yeah.
She wanted to obtain information, which eventually she does.
Yes.
And this was the moment where like I tensed up and I was like, I was watching it with my girlfriend. And immediately I was like, look at this book. Look at this figure.
Of course, we said it last week. We've been saying it every single episode.
Honestly, we've been saying it from the beginning of The Mandalorian.
True.
Of the series, because the new canon books came out from the same author. Villain and Rebels. Rebels had an ambiguous ending. And Ahsoka says, "Where is your master, Grand Admiral Thrawn?" And I about had a heart attack when this happened.
No joke. Screamed at the top of my lungs. I jumped out of my seat. Like, I was just so unbelievably excited because we've been talking about it for so long. It makes so much sense to reincorporate Thrawn.
Again, Thrawn should have been the villain of the sequel trilogy.
Imagine if Disney would have just adapted
The Heir to the Empire.
the Thrawn trilogy.
Yeah.
How much trouble they would have saved themselves.
But we love Thrawn. If you don't know, we've always been big fans of Thrawn and big fans of reincorporating him into The Mandalorian. Because it makes sense, because the original Legends book of the Heir to the Empire, he kind of took control of the Empire after Return of the Jedi. He's introduced in Rebels, canon-wise. But then there was like these new books by the same author, Timothy Zahn. I'm like, they're like really trying to brand up this character. So we started that theory that he was going to eventually make an appearance in The Mandalorian, and we got the name drop, and I could not believe it.
No, I mean, of course we wanted it to happen, but finally getting that confirmation. Now, do I think we're necessarily going to see him this season? Maybe not. Maybe the
tease at the very end.
Episode 8, the final tease, like I talked about in the last episode. It's the zoom in, and you get to see just a little bit of his face. But dude, I was so unbelievably excited. It's a great way to bring back the character because he's an imposing villain. Has fighting abilities as well. Right. If he wants to throw down
just
with
like a soft-spoken, he has good manners. It's he's brilliant.
Right, and he's not the kind of person that's super angry and is just like, crush and destroy. Like, there's plenty of episodes in Rebels where he just lets them get away, and he's like, this is my plan. He wants to know his enemy. And it's just such a compelling villain. It's something so different from what we've seen in Star Wars, especially for him to be an Imperial officer, which they've always kind of, been background for the most part. Of course, you had Tarkin, but, obviously he's only in Episode 4 and Rogue One.
Right.
So it's cool to see an Imperial officer become the main villain with no Emperor involved. Of course, the Magistrate is defeated. The town is liberated. Ahsoka still refuses to train Grogu, which we all knew was going to happen.
Yeah.
She gives Mando the spear, so of course, like we said, that's presumably how he's going to be able to combat Moff Gideon, who is presumably hot on his trail because of the tracking device.
Yeah. It was almost like the fake positivity, like fake out when everything was happy. I was waiting. I was like, oh no,
right,
something bad is about to happen, but it doesn't. But Ahsoka does give the Mandalorians more instructions for the child. He instructs Din to bring the child to the planet of Tython, which, as far as I know, was up to this point a Legends planet.
Yep.
With the origin of the Jedi.
Yeah.
I kind of thought like maybe that's the planet that Luke was on, but I don't think it is. No. So it has like an ancient Jedi temple and bring him to the Looking Stone.
Something like that.
And he will choose his path, and when he does this thing, this ritual, I suppose, when he chooses his path, another Jedi might sense his presence and come searching for him. And this was another moment where I was like, speculation.
I think there's 3 solid choices where it could go from here. The obvious. Luke. Which, hopefully, this is my hope. I love Mark Hamill. Love him to pieces.
Absolutely.
Sebastian Stan plays Luke Skywalker.
I would buy it.
We've seen the side-by-side photos of the two and the photoshopped images of Sebastian Stan's face on Luke Skywalker. He could easily play an older Luke, post Return of the Jedi, but still a little bit older. Second obvious choice, Ezra. Now that Thrawn is loose and has somehow gotten out of the situation from the end of Rebels, presumably the same fate happened to Ezra. He also escaped. What if they're still together? What if Ezra is an Inquisitor of some sort? I don't think that would happen, but I think at some point Thrawn and Ezra probably got re-separated. So Ezra's out there doing his own thing. Thrawn's out there doing his own thing.
Yeah, there's definitely a story to be told. But with the Lothcat in there, I was like, maybe that's like a little tease to Ezra. The Lothcat, that was his big thing. Lothal, he's obviously a native of Lothal. And then the third.
Here's our wild card, but it's not really that much of a wild card. Cal Kestis. Obviously another Jedi, recently introduced. Also conveniently played by an actor who does live action. Cameron Monaghan. We don't know the fate of Cal Kestis just yet because the ending of Jedi Fallen Order is open, is open-ended. I think you could easily say, similar to most of the Jedi that reappear, he just went into hiding. Again, probably, maybe cut his force powers off once again to hide himself after his encounter with Darth Vader. You could easily reincorporate him and say, oh, well, here comes Cal Kestis, live action appearance. I'd be down for any of those 3.
Yeah, I'd be down for either of those 3.
I think the most likely scenario is Ezra. Well, I would say Luke, but
I think Luke might make the most sense because around this time, like, Luke is establishing the next Jedi Order. And he's probably the most powerful Jedi. Like, at this point, he's a Jedi Master.
Yeah, I just don't know. Like, I would really hate to see a digitally de-aged Mark Hamill, which I feel like would be the path that they would go. I don't think they would recast Luke because I'm sure the fan backlash would be ridiculous. I don't want to see digital de-aging.
Right.
It never looks convincing.
It's never convincing, and I think like something like Dr. Sleep did where they just completely recast Jack.
Yeah.
I think that was more believable than just a digital de-age.
Right.
And it's what I prefer.
Yeah. So that's kind of where we're leaning. I think that's where most fans are leaning, especially towards Luke or Ezra. But I think there could also, the wild card of Cal Kestis could happen, since we don't know where he's been. Because Jedi Fallen Order is between 3 and 4, 5 years after Order 66. So he definitely would be older. So they'd have to, age up Cameron Monaghan a little bit. Maybe just give him a sweet beard or something. But obviously, with the popularity of Jedi Fallen Order, I think it could happen. So, Justin, final thoughts on the episode, and of course, your final rating for this episode.
I loved the episode. I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. I haven't felt this way about Star Wars since Clone Wars Season 7, which granted wasn't that long ago.
No.
But this is another gold mine of Star Wars content since the Disney acquisition of Star Wars. This is exactly the type of stuff that I want. This is what I want. And for that reason, I'm giving it a 10.
And I would also agree. This is a 10 out of 10 episode. Great story, great action, great lore.
Callbacks, lore, connections, teases.
That's what we like.
It's everything.
Yes, it's everything we've wanted in Star Wars ever since Disney bought Star Wars and, decided to do the sequel trilogy, which, of course, I think will eventually possibly be the ultimate downfall of The Mandalorian, is having to abide by the sequel trilogy, unless you really do go full tin hat conspiracy and think that they're going to use the Star Forge or whatever it is in Rebels to do some like time travel shenanigans and erase the sequel trilogy. I don't think that's going to happen, especially as long as Kathleen Kennedy is involved at Lucasfilm.
She's probably getting pissed off watching The Mandalorian. All this EU stuff coming back into canon.
She's just like, Filoni! She's going to be Maul, wandering in the desert of Tatooine.
Oh, no. And Obi-Wan is Dave with the cowboy hat.
Exactly. And they're going to have their little final showdown. And then that's when Dave is going to become the head of Lucasfilm. Which, I would love that. I think Star Wars is heading in the right direction so far. Great reincorporation of fan favorite characters. It's not overbearing. It's not like Bo-Katan is like, I'm going to join your crew, Mando. And then Ahsoka's like, I'm going to join your crew, Mando.
Right.
I like that they're just like, hey, we're here. Here's what you need to do. Go find this person. I'm going to stay here. Maybe we'll see them later on.
Yep, maybe our paths will cross again.
And that's the perfect way to do it. It doesn't need to be some weird shoehorny, let's all team up together and ride on the Razor Crest and we're all in the cockpit.
And it's Bo, Ahsoka, Grogu.
Yeah, exactly.
The ragtag team.
Exactly.
Suicide Squad.
Yeah, so I'm completely happy with how they've been reintroducing fan favorite characters. We're 2 for 2 now with the introduction of Bo-Katan and Ahsoka. So, of course, we would love to know what your guys' thoughts are on the episode. Of course, let's talk about it down below in the comments section. If you enjoyed our review, don't forget to leave a like on this video. Subscribe if you are new. Ring that bell so you know exactly when we are uploading all of our videos here on the channel. Of course, thank you so much for watching. I'm Nate. I've been joined with Justin.
See you guys later.
Well, we will see you guys next time on Out of the Basement.